Hi and welcome. Today I will show you how I draw and color and will tell you some of the tips that I use and hopefully they will help you too. I use only 3 brushes and 90% of the times it is just basic round brush that you can find in Procreate. Then I have this face shine brush. I don't remember where I downloaded it, but honestly any pointy brush will do the work. I use it only to add some hair strands to already drawn hair form. Sometimes I use it to draw eyelashes. The third brush I downloaded too. Again, I will try to leave a link if you want to download it. It says lips, but honestly I use it only to draw eyebrows. I like the effect that this brush does. To be honest, you don't need lots of brushes to do art, and so you don't actually need to download anything or to buy brushes, well, unless you want to add some textures to your drawings, but it's not necessary because it's you the one who draw everything, not the brushes. They're just your instruments. Also, before we start, I just want to make clear that I'm not a professional artist. I didn't go to art school or anything. Everything that I do, I learned myself or through YouTube videos of other artists. So please don't judge me. So let's start with super obvious things. We have a picture here and we have this big circle, let's call it the brain storage. So I usually find the middle of the face, mark it with this slightly curved line because we're looking at 3D objects, so there won't be any super straight lines. Then I mark the other cheek, jawline, chin and ear. Remember that we're just marking everything for easier sketching. At this point, I start eyeballing the distances. For example, how far is the eye from the ear? How far is the jawline from the neck? How far up the lips are from the chin? So you can measure everything with the pencil if you want to, but I recommend you to start eyeballing everything. It will help you with your proportions. I hope it makes sense for you. So basically I choose some starting point and measure distances to other parts from that point. Of course, my drawings are stylized, so I tend to draw smaller face and bigger eyes and lips. This still works for me, so you can follow these rules too. You can use pictures to train, but I'm begging you, do not do overdrawings. It's always obvious, everybody knows. Use it as an exercise to grow rulers inside of your eyes to see the distances. Since I'm not the best artist out there, I like to do 3 or 4 layers of sketching. I like to make sure that everything is placed where it should be. You can flip your drawing as many times as you want. It helps to see your mistakes, but honestly, for some reason, I don't do that. Also, I don't like to move anything when I start coloring, so I prefer to spend some extra time on sketch. If you can draw just one sketch and it looks good for you. You're better than me. I don't know why you're watching this video then. But since I spend so much time on sketch, I usually don't hide it at all. I just lower its opacity, erase some of the parts like super dark hair parts and nostrils sometimes. But if you look at my drawings close enough, you still can see those sketch lines. I always start my drawings with the least interesting part. So for example, I start with the background first, then I move to clothing, accessories like necklace or earrings, and etc. And only then I start the most exciting part. For me, it's a face. For example, if I start with the face first, I like the result and I become too impatient to post it as soon as possible, so I don't spend too much time on the rest of the drawing. That's why it takes so much time to improve, because you skip drawing everything else besides the face. Also, one of the things that I started doing this year is noticing that the colors that you see are more complex than you thought. I like to exaggerate some of the parts, but for example, the red background is not just red. I see some of the blues and yellows. So for example, in Procreate you can choose different types of color wheel. Try triadic one. It shows complementary colors of the one you're using. So I really like to use complementary colors to draw shadows. I really like using blues and reds. So try to draw shadows using complementary colors. So as you can see, when I'm drawing his blouse, I'm using blue, desaturated, purple, some reds, a bit desaturated blues again. So let's just see few examples of what I mean. Remember that everything that I show you and tell you is not the only or the correct way to draw. It's just something that I do, something that people ask me to tell them how I create my colorful art pieces. So take everything with a grain of salt. We all have different styles, so you may use bold, dark colors in your drawings, and it's totally okay. It's art. You can do whatever you want. Let's talk about the part that everybody struggle with, hair. So again, I use round brush. I clean the edges with the round brush. I draw the basic shape and skip it to draw his earring. Okay, let's talk about drawing small objects. Up until this month, every artwork would take me 20 plus hours because I was trying to draw every small object as detailed as possible, and then I would show my artwork and everybody would say, wow, it looks pretty. But that wasn't enough for me, so I would yeah, zoom in, see the details. But honestly, if you're drawing small details, just swap the colors, zoom out. If it looks like the object that you intended to draw, then you're good. Oh yeah, let's go back to his hair. Here I'm using that face shine brush that I usually use for the hair and trying to draw hair strands and find which directions they look most natural. After that, I would lock the layer and add some very dark and very light colors. And of course I would blur everything, and using round brush for smudging, I would form hair strands, smudging the light colors into blacks upper to the light ones. I think this way I get this hair texture that looks natural. After that, I would make another layer and start drawing some details. Using almost the same colors, I would draw some dark strands, a bit more of the light ones, so just adding details so the hair looks a bit prettier. Another good tip that I can give you is, when you can't draw some part and you're trying again and again and it doesn't look right, just switch to some other part. For example, when I feel like the face doesn't turn out as I wanted, I would leave it for some time and start drawing hair, for example. I don't like when the drawing is stressful and you're one of those people who say, oh my god, I hated this drawing because it gave me so much stress. So I try to turn drawing into relaxing process. So if you can draw something, just leave it for some time and draw some other part. And let me do a quick tutorial on how I color the eyes. I usually like to use light or desaturated blue as a base, and then I would add a darker blue under the upper eyelid as a shadow. Also, I like to add darker reds in the corner of the eyes, and to make it easier to blend, I also like to add lighter pinkish color. Then I would take my round brush and smudge everything just a bit so it looks a bit less harsh. So I really like to add this super bright blue around the iris. So I saw it somewhere and I think it looks really pretty. It makes eye a bit more on realistic side. Back to the most interesting part, the face. Again, it's not only beige and brown colors. As for myself, I prefer using more of the reds and blues, and for the highlights I like to use yellows and light blue and white sometimes. Honestly, I don't like to slap a lot of colors at once and then try to smudge everything to get this seamless skin texture. My style is to carefully layer colors until I'm satisfied with this saturation, and step by step adding more and more details. So this way I don't use a lot of smudging on the face because I layer almost transparent colors. So that's how I get sometimes very harsh lines, but most of the time very smooth that blend into some other colors. And sometimes when I don't see if I added enough colors on the face, I do one thing. I finish eyes and add highlights on a different layer. That helps me to see if I'm satisfied with the amount of colors, if I want to make them more saturated or to add some more contrast colors. So if you struggle with this problem that you finished your drawing but you see that the eyes and here everything is very bright but the face looks a bit pale, try to finish eyes and add highlights, and you will see if you need to work a bit more on a face. Anyways, I hope those tips and my process will help you to improve your drawings. Thank you for watching, and I will see you sometime when I won't be too lazy to upload another video. Bye!